Yep.
Yes, come on! Come on!
And nope, it's not the record. Nope. Who weighed the plates? Who weighed them? Coach Craig, in today's video, Thor finally does it. 505 kilogram deadlift, breaking Eddie Hall's biggest deadlift of all time. And of course, with any record, it comes with some controversy. People saying he didn't actually lock out the weight. This is strongman. It's not powerlifting, and so they do have different rules. They're allowed to use straps and they're allowed to use a lifting suit which helps lift a significant amount of weight. Now, some people saying he didn't lean back far enough, that he didn't lock out the weight, but he got the weight up. He never even hitched it. It was smooth, and he stood upright. Now, could he have leaned back a little bit if he had wanted to? I'm sure he could have, but there's no reason to do so. All judges said it's a good lift. Eddie Hall said it's a good lift, and so it's a good lift. And so let's watch his first attempt with 435 kilograms.
5 vor 12 und
Yeah.
This goes up so easy, it looks like a warm-up lift, and that's because it was. You have 3 attempts. You're not going to go out and put a very heavy weight on your first attempt to tire you out. And so he opens up with close to 960 pounds, a very easy lift. He could probably get this for about 5 reps, and so there it is. First one down, looks like he's on point. Next, this weight, 470 kilograms, 1,035 pounds, it goes up with ease. And previously in training, his last heaviest lift, it was 480 kilograms. And so this was on point. It was very easy. And so it's looking like he is going to finally do it. One of the things that makes this lift so exciting is the banter between Eddie Hall and Thor. Eddie Hall had previously set the record at 500 kilograms. He was the first man to do so, and it was such an amazing lift. He had beaten the previous record by 37 kilograms, and so that was a huge jump. And then during that time where we were thinking it was Halloween, walking around wearing stupid things, well, during that time, Thor broke Eddie's world record, 501 kilograms, only 1 kilogram more, and it was done in his home gym. And apparently it was his dad that weighed the weights. And so some people are saying this isn't fair. It's a little sus. He was under perfect conditions in his own gym with his own weights. And so people are like, we don't believe that it's actually the record. I personally believe it. It's not his fault that he had to do it in his own gym. And so you roll with the punches. But many people thought it wasn't fair. And so he then continues to train years later. And remember, this is after taking time off for boxing, doing that whole thing. And so he gets back in the sport. And let me remind you, Thor had torn his pec. He had a lot of obstacles to overcome. He had retired. He was doing it for his health because remember, this is not drug tested. There are no rules saying you can or can't use anything. And so it's kind of expected that they take whatever it takes to break the record. In his previous competition to this, he attempted to break the record. He couldn't do it. And so people are beginning to doubt him. I always thought Thor could do this. He's such a big and strong man. And so, will he actually do it? Yep.
Yes, come on! Come on!
And
Oh,
just barely at the top. And so for me, he picked the perfect weight. That was the amount he could lift. People saying, oh, he could lift more. I don't think so. I think if he had 5 more kilograms on the bar, it would have stalled out perhaps 3/4 of the way, and he wouldn't have actually gotten it. It's official. He's done it. Before I read any other comments, I do believe this is the most important one from Eddie Hall himself. Massive respect to Thor for making history and setting the official world record at 505 kilograms. That's one hell of a pull. Records are made to be broken. Big respect, big love, the beast. There you have it. the record counts. When the guy who formerly had the record says this is the record counts. I don't care what anyone else says. How much could Eddie Hall have lifted? Remember, he only went for it once. He could have kept going. 500 kilograms stood for 9 years. Am I the only one wondering where the record would be if he was still training for deadlift to push the record? Eddie's response: if I had continued raising the bar, there's no doubt I would have lifted more. But there's also the chance I wouldn't be here now. That is very telling. Remember, Eddie Hall, who many people doubt if he's 100% natural. I mean, I don't know why they would think that. And so when I called him out and he got mad at me for suggesting that perhaps he's on HRT or something, well, hey, I'm just saying what I'm saying. But Eddie Hall is saying, look, if I had kept going for that record, I probably wouldn't be alive. That is very telling, because to push these kind of weights, you're weighing over 400 pounds, you're taking copious amounts of steroids, and so it does do damage to your heart. There's only so long you can go. We've seen recently the Hulk Hogan pass away. We also know that The Rock has coronary artery disease, and so how long before something else develops? It can only get records for so long, and so I'm hoping this is Thor's final year at going for the records. If he continues to push it, he's 6'8". He's over 400 pounds. How long will he last? I asked a question. I said, history has been made. 68% of people said he had more. 18% said he barely got it, while 15% said he never got it. He needed Turk Platinum. And so if you're interested in Turk Platinum, Turk Builder Max, of course, it's 100% natural. It's not going to dramatically shorten your life. You want to put on natural gains, code Greg, 15% off. Click the link in the description. And so the debate goes on, sumo versus conventional, with the majority of people feeling that sumo isn't really a deadlift, that it's not a real lift, but this was allowed in competition. And so a few of the other competitors, they actually pulled sumo. Thor, he just is stronger while pulling conventional. And so the other attempts at sumo, one actually pulled 480 kilograms, very impressive weight, but no one was able to pull as much. But in the world of powerlifting, there is in fact one man who many people feel could break this record, and break it with ease. His name is Colton. Colton in a raw, that's right, no powerlifting special suit, no lifting straps. He had 500 kilograms on the bar, and he almost got it. His grip slipped. And so had he have had straps, he most certainly would have lifted it. And he in fact did lift it right after that. And he did it with ease. And so with lifting straps, he can lift a ton of weight. And so I would love to see him attempt to break the all-time deadlift record. He is the all-time world record holder in powerlifting for the 3 lifts. That's a squat, bench, and deadlift. You do the total. And he weighs around 265 pounds, something ridiculous. Guys who are lifting these kind of weights, they weigh over 400 pounds. And so it's actually unbelievable. Now, he is pulling it sumo, so the bar isn't moving as far in comparison to people who are pulling conventional. And so I personally feel like there should be 2 separate records. I think they're 2 different lifts. I think that if you want to pull conventional versus sumo, you should have that right, but they should have 2 separate records for each category. If Thor were forced to pull sumo, he wouldn't have the record, while if other people who are pulling sumo were forced to pull conventional, perhaps they wouldn't have the record. And so it's only fair, in my opinion, that they do both lifts. And so the question remains, so you guys can finally be friends now. Can they be friends? There's perhaps a little bit of bad blood. And so Eddie Hall's response: I'd love for Thor to publicly apologize for his actions in 2017. Admit he was wrong and admit I beat him fair and square. Mend that friendship once and for all. Eddie just said no. Immediately, no, we're not friends. Just because I said, hey, bro, you set the record, you clearly did it. And so Eddie Hall is just agreeing with what happened. Hey, you broke the record, congrats. It would look very bad if he said, nope, it's not the record. Nope. Who weighed the plates? Who weighed them? Or I locked it out further than you, and so I'm still stronger. It would make him look very bad. And so he can't do that. Is he over it? No. And can I blame him? No, it's his own prerogative. If he wants to be friends with him, if he doesn't like the way he treated him in the past, then hey, that's up to him. He's saying, Thor should apologize. And so if Thor did something wrong, I think he should apologize. I don't know exactly what happened, but Eddie Hall is clearly not happy. He states, sadly, I don't think that will ever happen. Happy for Thor, and he got the lift. Hopefully he can move on in life right now. And one more thing I'd like to point out is that sometimes you have to lift under extraordinary circumstances, and so many people don't know, perhaps, that when Thor pulls on the deadlift, he likes to roll the bar towards him and then move the bar up. He's got some inertia, some momentum, if you will. Oh, and speaking of momentum, have you heard that on August 1st, we launch Momentous clothing? Coach Greg, Eric Janicki, Hussein Farhat. And so if you're interested in Momentous clothing, click the link in the description. And so having to adjust his lifting technique during this lift, it perhaps cost him several kilos off of his lift. Imagine having to change the way you lift a weight, having trained that way every single time. The lifting platforms are different, the wood is different, and so he had to make some adjustments. It never slowed him down. I mean, I was watching a guy the other day. He was a bike rider, and he was going down to win the world championships. His chain broke. Downhill on a bike, his chain broke. He was the champion of the world, the favorite to win, the last man standing, and while accelerating, it snapped. Remember, it's downhill, so technically he doesn't need to pedal the whole time. He still won. I mean, talk about some adversity. If you can win under the best ideal circumstances, yeah, it's impressive. But if the world throws you a curveball, you have to swing and hit it out of the park. And Thor, he did. And for me, this world record on the deadlift means more than winning the World's Strongest Man. I think it's a bigger deal. The World's Strongest Man, there are several different competitions throughout the year, and it's World's Strongest Man this, or it's the Arnold Strongman. There's various competitions, all that mean a lot. But to have the world record in the deadlift, it's iconic. And so, does this put Thor as the greatest strongman competitor of all time? A former World's Strongest Man champion, also to have competed in boxing and come back and set the world record in the deadlift. The fact that he's been at the top or close to it for so many years. I'm going to say this. I think it's Thor. I think when you close your eyes and you picture a World's Strongest Man competitor, you're likely now thinking Thor's that man. Perhaps you're thinking it's Eddie Hall or Mitchell Hooper, perhaps Mariusz Pusinowski. The list goes on and on. But I have to say that it has to be Thor. I think more people picture Thor than anyone else. The sheer size of the man, the fact that he's 6'8", that he was in movies and so on. When you think of a man that was designed to be a strong man, it's got to be Thor. And so anyone else that wants to be considered the greatest strength athlete of all time, I think they have to set his record. If Mitchell Hooper could come back perhaps next year and break Thor's record, it's got to be Mitchell Hooper, having won previous competitions, having dominated several of the competitions in the past. If he comes back and sets this deadlift record, well, I'm going to then say it's Mitchell Hooper. Powerlifting, strongman, setting records, all very dangerous. And so if you're ever taking steroids, SARMs, and so on, please get your blood work done. If you want to get your blood work done from Algo RX, of which I'm now a part owner, click the link in the description. They have the cheapest prices I've ever seen by far. It isn't close, and so if you're looking to save money and you want to get prescribed medication, you don't want the doctors to have to say no to you, it's a very quick thing. It's a couple-minute questionnaire, and the doctors can then prescribe you things like Viagra and Cialis, enclomiphene, peptides. The list goes on. And so they won't judge you. They're going to offer risk management. They're going to help you to get what you need. And so if you're interested, code Greg, 10% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Please like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to watch one of those 2 bloops. Of course, you can get the cookbooks, coaching plans by me and my team. You can get everything. Get to the website, and until next time, I am out.